very exciting evening. I had no idea what it would be like. I come from Berkeley, California, the University of California, so I know student life a little bit. And I'm very happy to be among you all. You are the future of Am Yisrael. Honored to be able to speak with you, to tell you a little bit about my husband, because he was somebody extraordinary. As you've heard from the speakers before, you might have read some papers. I heard that lots of radio stations were talking about Zeev Wolfson, which made me very happy. And if you don't know about his deeds, you certainly can go on the internet, chick-chock Zeev Wolfson, and you'll find a lot about his work. When I was thinking about coming here, it was very hard for me to prepare this talk, because how can you encapsulate in 15 minutes my son Aaron? Thank you for inviting me. Aaron, thank you for inviting me. And he said 15 minutes. And a week ago, there were 1,500 students. So everybody gets a little chelik. Today, I think there's 2,000. Kol hakavod to everybody. The first time I spoke in Yerushalayim, I'd been here about 3 times before I married Zeev Wolfson. We were both widowed. And we had a magic introduction by the Bostoner Rebbe, a girl from California marrying introduced to a man from New York, who the Boston Rebbe said, met with presidents and did very important things for Israel. Zeev told me later the Boston Rebbe really didn't know anything about him, but that's what he told me. I said, yes, I'd be interested in meeting him. We were married. We had a courtship. We were married after about 4 or 5 months. We were married in Zurich, an international city. It wasn't New York. It wasn't California, it wasn't San Francisco, it was international. We left our children home, and we went to Zurich, a place where we had few friends, but we had a lovely wedding, arranged and put together by Rabbi Moshe Soloveitchik and his wife in Zurich. It was a big honor for us. After about 2 weeks of a honeymoon in Switzerland, we came to Eretz Yisrael here, and Zeev took me around to some of the places that he had built. Rabbi Tanami's school in the north, Shalavim Yeshiva, Hesder Yeshiva, a school for Sephardic girls in Tel Aviv. I was quite impressed, but he really didn't tell me very much about what he had done. He was kind of circumspect about it. He was very private, even to me. We had a wedding party at the Plaza Hotel here in Yerushalayim. And there were ministers, there were members of Knesset, there were people that Zeev had worked with, there were former comedians and movie stars in the audience, big rabbis, smaller rabbis, a lot of people that were doing work with him. It was a very interesting group. And Zeev asked me to speak. Now, this was 34 years ago, almost 34 years ago. I think I even spoke in Hebrew, and my Hebrew was very, very minimal, but it worked. And I told them all that I was very proud to be among such a group of people, the people who were the builders of Eretz Yisrael, the people who worked hard to make the Medina strong. It was a very big honor for me. That was January in 1980. Here we are in 2012. I'm speaking again. It's hard for me now, because tonight it's a litraot. It's a tribute to my dear husband, father of our 10 children, Chovev Zion, and how hope that it will be meaningful to you, and I hope I'll be able to do it, be able to speak to you in a way that will be aliyah neshama shalom. You know, when you live, you think you'll live forever. Zeev was a person who was larger than life. But he's not coming back. Many of you he's not coming back. And as a family, that's what we have to accept. He was a big person. He did so much for Klal Yisrael. He did so much for Am Yisrael, for the Medina, for Jews all over the world. He cared. It's hard to imagine that one simple person could be that. He was a very simple person. Right, Rabbi Goldrich? Very simple. Nachon? All of you in the first row? Simple. He had a few things. He liked nice suits, good shirts, and he had a fetish for French neckties. But he was simple. He never took honors. Many people wanted to honor him, dinners, raise money through his name. Klum. He loved to learn Torah. He had three things in his life: his business, his family, and his work for Am Yisrael. And I would say that each one was equal. Everything that he did was 100%. He did his business fully. He was very successful. HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed him. Many times I would say, Zeev, God loves you. And I remember one time, several times, even difficult things happened to him. He fell down the steps in our house. We have a swimming pool in the basement. He was going down to do some exercise. He fell down the steps. Asaf Weiss, if you're here, you were there that Shabbat. It was Motzei Shabbat. It was big steps. He went down. Nothing happened. It was a nes gadol. Remember, Aaron? It was, I said, Zeev, God loves you. And many other times, there were nisim. I said, Zeev, God loves you. I want to tell you some of the things about the personal side I've started to tell you already. There's a story that I remembered. My son Aaron yesterday at another gathering spoke about the Kotzker Rebbe. Then I said, Kotzker Rebbe? I haven't thought about the Kotzker Rebbe for a long time. And I was thinking, what's that great story that I know from the Kotzker Rebbe? And Aaron, I thank you for reminding me, because it's a story that I used to tell a lot. My daughter in California, Sarah, said, yeah, Ma, I remember that story. The Kotzker Rebbe tells it like this. He says, listen carefully. It's Rosh Hashanah. You can get ready for Rosh Hashanah, preparing yourself. The Kotzker Rebbe says, if I am I, because you are you, and you are you, because I am I, then I am not I, and you are not you. But if I am I, because I am I, and you are you, because you are you, then we can talk. Think about it. It's simple and it's very deep. Zeev Wolfson knew what his I was. His I was not you. He knew his derech. He knew his matarot. He knew what it was that he wanted and he needed to do his job in this world. And Zeev Wolfson liked you people. How do I say it? He liked the people who were the yous, the people who said they also knew what to do. If I am I and you are you. So the you are yous he also liked because they knew where they were going. And those are the kind of people that he liked to work with. People who had a goal, people that were focused. And because Zeev was focused, he was able to accomplish. He knew what he was going to do. His eye was his purpose and his focus. And the eye and the purpose was the continuation of Jewish life. You might have even said, you could even say that it was a mantra. His mantra was, I wanted that there should be more Jews, that people would be attached to their heritage, that people should be proud of being Jews. That was Zeev Wolfson's mantra. And he chose as his vehicle to accomplish this the medium of Jewish education. He worked worldwide. He wasn't a small man for his neighborhood, or his town, or his New York, or his America. Zeev worked in America, worked worldwide for Jewish life, to strengthen Jewish life in Russia, in France, in South America, in Britain, England, and of course in America. These were his, this was his territory. Wherever there were Jews, Zeev was working. Some people, one woman, a friend of mine, came to me during the during Shiva, and she said to me, she says, Nechama, Zeev was living in disguise. I don't know if you know the Milah disguise. Hester Panim, you know, he was hidden. He was hidden. No? Hester Panim? He was a hidden soul, and it is true. He was a simple person. Yes, people knew that he was a wealthy person. He had a big family. He did tzedakah, he gave tzedakah, but they didn't know all the things that you're going to read on the internet. They didn't know that he did big things for Jewish life around the world. And he did that not on purpose. This was his nature. He had no need for honors. He had no need to be public. In fact, he heard about an article, a newspaper that was publishing wanted to publish an article about his work. He had dozens of people going to the newspapers, telling them, you better not publish this. This is not right. You don't do it. It was never, it didn't go through the papers. So you probably never heard about Zeev Wolfson until you heard about this program. Or maybe you read a paper or saw a TV program. But he was not a public person. He was private. He was private about everything. He was private. He was not interested in honor. I had two other things I wanted to tell you about him. He was tsanua. He didn't broadcast himself. He was not interested in kavod. He wasn't he wasn't envious, and he wasn't jealous. That's pretty hard to be when you're in business. If someone buys a building, and oh, I missed it. If I would only, he's not that. He was never there. He was happy. Husamer bechelko. In Pirkei Avos it says, "Who is rich? He who is happy with his lot." Because he had this sense of focus, he could accomplish so much. His main focus, of course, his rules. Zeev was an individual. He didn't go by rules. He made his own rules. Now, the only rules were his that he followed was Torah and Halakha. That was his derech, and those were his rules. Chutz mizeh, It's all fair game. I want to tell you a couple of, you might call it holy chutzpah. If he had to do something to accomplish his goals, he would do something, you might even call it comic. Because when something is comical, it means that it's beyond what you expect. That's what makes a joke, is because you don't expect what you're going to get. He went to see a senator in Washington. He went to his office. And it was very important, but he didn't have an appointment. And he went to the secretary and he said, I'd like to meet with Senator so-and-so. She said, I'm so sorry. He's busy. You don't have an appointment. Sorry. He was with another person. And this other fellow, he said to him, it was Amos Bunham, and they worked together on education projects. And he said, Amos, distract the secretary. You distract her and let her think about something else. Amos talked to the secretary about something else, and Zeev jumped over the geder and ran into the senator's office and conducted what he had to do. That I call holy chutzpah. He did what he had to do. He didn't follow the rules. Another time, we picked up Senator Inouye from LaGuardia. He came in from Washington. It was the time of the Israel Day Parade. Every year in New York, there is an Israel Day Parade. And thousands and thousands of people come. We picked up the senator, and we were bringing him to he was the master of the parade. So he had to get to the grandstand. And, you have to walk, the senator, it's not so easy. So, we were in our very nice car, driving into Manhattan. The street, Fifth Avenue was blocked because it was ready for the parade. And how are you going to get to the grandstand to bring the master of the parade? So what did Zeev do? How did he get there? The road was blocked and all closed down. He just turned around, went the wrong way, down Fifth Avenue, 30 blocks to the grandstand, and left him off. Senator Inouye says, don't do that, you're going to get arrested. Zeev Wolfson said, don't worry about it. If you just take strong permission and you just do it, everything will be fine. And everything was fine. The family meant the world to Zeev Wolfson. We have children that are not spoiled. We could give them many, many things. Many of them had not as many dresses that they would have liked to have had, but they all were fine. Everybody had what they needed, but they were not spoiled. Every Friday afternoon, the kids will remember, their father took them to the library. Not only did he take them to the library, he looked over every book that they were going to read. Was this appropriate? Was it a history book or a biography? Those were the books that could go. Historia biografia. Not these teenage novels, which all the other girls and boys were reading. And not only did they take the books for Shabbat, but they had to read a certain amount before they could go out and play the Torah and the Shabbat. One of my daughters, Aliza, said the only time that she was punished was when she told a lie. Another time, my son Moshe tells a story that his father came to the gathering for parents when the boys, 9-year-old boys, received the Mishnayot Sefer. And each boy was called up to receive the Mishnah book, the Sefer, and everybody clapped. Thank you. When it came to Moshe's time, they announced Moshe Wolfson. His father stood up, clapped his hands, and hooray, Moshe! This was a 9-year-old boy among 30 other kids. He says, I was so embarrassed. But I know, and I knew, that this was a father who cared about his son. And he wasn't embarrassed to give praise in a very public way to his son. This was Zeev Wolfson. Zeev always said that he could see the pimples on his children. Nobody's perfect. He could look at a newborn baby, a grandchild, and say, this is a monkey. And there are other babies that he'd look at and say they were beautiful, but there were plenty of monkeys in our family. And he also said, he knew that our children are not perfect. They were, they had ways to go, wonderful kids, but he said he was proud of the fact that he could discriminate and say, I could see the pimples on my children. Sundays are family days. I hope that they'll continue. It's still continuing. Everybody comes to our house, children, grandchildren, this one from that one. It was great. It is great. Zeev was not a big talker. And maybe that's why this lady friend who came to Shiva said he was in disguise. How could a man who's not a talker, who's so quiet, ma'od ma'od pashut, accomplish so much for the Medina, going to Washington, coming to Israel, working with Rabbi, working with Paris, working with Barak, who's our good friend, who's not alive? Not Shamir. No, Daddy's friend from Russia. Not Sapir, of course, he worked with. Chaim Israeli, who worked for the Misrad Bitachon. Very important man. He met with all of them. They all thought he was Chacham. And he thought of all these ideas that came through Washington. They were his ideas. He had the foundation and the friends and the support in Washington. But this lady had no idea. This simple man, he was a man in disguise. He was born in Vilna, but you could even think that he was a Sabra. Why? Because he spoke Hebrew fluently. And so much so that when we came to passport control, almost every time we were stuck in passport control because they looked at the passport, it was an American passport, and they kept saying, are you an Israeli? He made the big mistake. I mean, he's so proud to speak Hebrew, but he always made the mistake to speak Hebrew and not English at passport control. He was also tzabra because he was tough on the outside, very tough on the outside. And as tough as he was very, very soft. And somebody just said this week, he said, I know that Zeev worked very hard to protect, to keep that soft side hidden. And I'm sure, I know that that soft side was hidden. Now that he's not here, the children, the grandchildren are coming to me and asking me, well, I'd like to have something from Saba. Do you have anything that you give me that I could take as a zikaron? And I say, I'm sorry, but Saba didn't have a lot of things. He had 3 pair of tefillin. Those are already, I think they're already spoken for, and those go to sons. And other than that, we don't have big items. Can't give away the swimming pool, can't give you the boat, but I think we're going to have some sort of auction for those French neckties, because the grandchildren love them, the boys do. Zeev never looked back. He always looked to the future. And as I said, you are the future. You might say, oh, I'm so sorry that I never had that opportunity to meet Zeev. He was an easy person to meet. He answered every telephone call, and he would have let you in his office even. And if you knocked on a door, you might have gotten in also. He was easy. So you missed that. And I'm sorry about that. But I want you to know that Zeev did leave something for you. Zeev gave you a gift. And I want you to, it may even be the most important gift you'll have in your life. Zeev gave you the opportunity to learn about your tradition, and to learn about your heritage, and to learn about your I. Being part of Am Yehudi, being proud to be part of Am Yehudi, being proud to be a Jew. You have that gift that Zeev has given you. And I hope that you remember that as Rosh Hashanah comes on. As you think about the Kutzker Rebbe's story about the I, and you think about mi ani, what am I, what can I do, what can I be, who can I be? And this is the time to do that.